Hi, everyone. I'm James Garbutt.
And I'm Denny Dumas.
And this is the Garbutt Dumas Real Estate Podcast. Are you making a move this year? And if so, are you buying first or are you selling first? That is the question.
That is a good question.
Denny, we're going to talk about the pros and cons to both. And in every market, there's a reason to sell first. There's a reason to buy first, and it really comes down to what you're doing and your particular circumstance. And I guess that really comes down to your financial position and the availability of the home that you want to buy.
Totally.
So,
and the home that you want to sell.
And the home that you want to sell.
Yeah, product type I think is really important in this equation. If you in busy markets like this, most buyers and sellers choose to buy first. The buy side is, in most cases, a lot more frustrating, a lot more challenging. You may miss out on a few. The inventory is very low early in years, so you may just not see something that you like for a few months. And if you sell first, you may be homeless or renting or living with your in-laws.
Yeah. The positive about this market right now is for most product types, you can have a pretty predictable sale outcome. Mm-hmm. Maybe the price might be a little unpredictable, but it's a strong enough market where if you buy first, you're likely to sell quick.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions there, but those exceptions are usually mitigated by a lower price. Mm-hmm. So meaning what might be considered a softer product right now might be that one-bedroom condo or really that busy street fixer-upper home or something. Those might be the two that come to mind.
I don't even think those
but
two
even
are slow.
Then, even then, they with the way the market is right now, they have a pretty strong demand, and I think they would have a pretty quick sale. So I think the pros. Let's talk about the pros of buying first.
Yeah.
So the pros of buying first is you know where you're going.
Yeah.
And if you have a sellable product, which a lot of people do in this market, it's nice to have the know-how that you are not going to be homeless. So you know that you have a home to go to, and all that you have to do is sell your place. And if you can sleep at night and handle that risk between the moment that you've submitted your deposit on the buy and the moment that you get a deposit on your sell, that is the stress period. And I think for most people, it's worth it right now. It seems to be. Mm-hmm. But the positive of buying first is really just knowing where you're going and when you're getting there. The negative is for certain individuals, if you are stretching yourself for that buy, it's harder to sleep at night.
Yeah.
If you're not stretching yourself for that buy, it's easier to sleep at night. So the negative is really, what is your financial position of holding two properties?
Yeah.
Because whenever you buy first and sell, one, you don't know the sale price of what you have to sell. So you don't know if you're going to be happy with that outcome at the moment you're making that purchase. And separate, you don't know. You don't know if you're stretching yourself. You don't know if you can truly afford what you're going to buy.
I think if you are buying first too, you have to be mentally okay with potentially losing a home. You never know what conditions the seller is going to be in. If the seller of this home that you love has purchased something and they need a really quick close, a 30-day close, it probably doesn't give you enough time to sell that condo or townhouse or whatever you're moving out of. So I think in most cases, it works out. But you have to understand and be prepped that you may miss out on a home if the conditions of how quickly you need to close on that to get it just don't line up with now selling your condo.
So conversations that we have with our buyers that are buying first is simply, you may find a home you love, and if the seller wants a quick closing, you may not be able to buy that home. Yeah. And most instances are pretty accommodating, but it may not be the next one that you want. So just recognize that if you're buying first and you need the proceeds of the sale of the property you live in, there's just going to be there could be a chance of a few homes that you can't buy.
Yeah. I think one of the big advantages of buying first is you get to be a little bit patient. You get to wait for the right home that you love, that you see your family in for a long time, and you don't feel any pressure to, purchase something just for the sake of purchasing something because you don't want to rent for 3 months or whatever it may be. A lot of people feel that pressure once their place is sold and they have a firm move-out date of 3 months from now. They go a little bit crazy in terms of trying to see every single thing, and they're looking at product types that don't necessarily fit exactly what they're looking for just because they feel this pressure of, I need to move somewhere I better go see everything. Versus buying first, we often can narrow down pretty specific of what a family, a person is looking for. And as soon as those properties come up, we're seeing them like or at least communicating with the agents day one to get in.
And if you buy first based on a likely worst case scenario sale price of what you sell. Like think conservatively, because if you're buying first, you have to take the market price if you're putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
Some good examples of products or situations that would make sense to buy first is if you're upgrading detached homes right now. So if you live in a detached, that's an entry-level detached, and you want to get a bigger house, entry-level detached are insanely hot and very, very predictable that you're going to typically get multiple offers at this moment in time. So that would be, anyone upgrading detached to me seems like a great candidate to buy first if they're okay with the risks. And if you have a townhouse that's desirable or a desirable top floor condo or a view condo, those products are very hot right now as well. So anything that's a little more rare, unique, you have a pretty predictable outcome in a way that you're going to sell quick and hopefully sell with multiple offers. And when you have that confidence, it's much easier to buy first.
The inventory is so low right now. And usually when we're evaluating properties, we're giving a couple different ranges. And we're saying, if you purchase first and you need this to sell in a week, we recommend listing at this number. At this number, the likelihood of getting multiple offers is pretty high. It potentially is going to sell above, but this is kind of like the low end. If you're selling first and you just want to see what the market is willing to give you, we may be willing to price it $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 higher depending on the product and just seeing what happens. But when you've purchased first, we don't necessarily have that luxury. So we typically steer towards a strategy of listing on that lower side, trying to create a bunch of interest and then working with multiples to get it to that number.
To talk about sell first.
Yeah.
Just a real simple scenario to sell first in this market is if you're making the jump from, say, strata to detached, and you are stretching yourself to buy detached, and you started looking at detached in the fall, and you're watching prices climb, and you recognize that buying a house is at the top of your budget. If you're in a condo and you don't truly know the predictable, like the outcome of the sale price of your condo, and you know that you need to know that to get this home because you're just scraping enough to get 20% down, and you're adamant about getting into a home, I don't think there's a better way to get more aggressive or with that process than selling first. And so if you're stretching yourselves to upgrade properties and you need to know how much money you're working with and you are adamant that you want a house and you want to get the best terms and cleanest offers out there, well, you need to know how much your down payment's going to be. So selling first may make sense. And then buy first and then buy second. But Denny, let's talk about how. How do you do it? Like how do you position an offer when you're buying first or position an offer how do you sell first?
So if you're selling first and planning to buy, the ideal scenario is that you're asking for a longer date, 3-4 months maybe in some circumstances. It would be great to, depending on who the buyer is, to have a term in your contract that allows you to be flexible with that date. So you can shift it, let's say 30 days either way for the time that you find something to purchase, that you can make those dates line up if the seller needs a specific date. That may sound confusing, and it is a little bit of a juggling act from the realtor side, but there are a few different ways when you're selling first to give you flexibility, especially when you have leverage and multiple offers, to allow you to adjust dates without even the buyers initialing again. So there are some terms you can put into contracts. They're renting back is a potential one, or allowing for the seller to move dates on either way to accommodate their future purchase that they haven't looked at yet.
And this is to avoid moving twice, potentially. Maybe in some cases, bridge financing might be a thing. But that if you are this is. If you're selling first?
If you're selling first.
Yeah. So if you're selling first, on the very surface level, you have to. It's ideal to sell first if you have a backup plan on where you can live. Yeah. If you have family or somewhere where you can live, that's great. If you have nowhere where you can live, then you have to decide. You have to look at the options on the buy side and use probabilities to think, hey, when am I going to land this house? And And yeah, if you're a seller, the guess there is if you have a place to live and you're okay with moving twice, then get a quicker close. Close in 30 days if you get an offer. Then you're going to have the money to buy quicker. But if you don't know where you're going to live and the supply of what you want to buy is low and you don't have a backup plan that you like, you have to find a rental, then you might want to consider a 3-month close on the anticipation that it's going to find you a month to find a place and a typical 2-month close after that. The goal is to try to match up the dates. But when you sell first, it is a little more challenging to do that.
Yeah.
When you buy first, it's a little bit easier, assuming that you have a sellable product afterwards.
Sure.
So how do you buy first? And then the question there is this is what a lot of people are doing right now. And the simple answer is longer dates. And the hope is if you do a 3 to 4 month close, the moment you firm up your purchase is the moment you are getting photos and getting your place listed for sale. And so the hope is that you have a 3.5 month close, a completion date out after the time of offer. You put your place right on the market right after that, and you negotiate a close. And the hope is that the closing on your sale is the day before the closing on your purchase. So you can avoid bridge financing. And even better so, the possession date of your purchase. So you want to, this is going to be hard. You want to close on your purchase, let's call it on a Tuesday. You want to close on your sale on a Tuesday. You want to close on your purchase on a Wednesday. You want to get the keys to your purchase on a Thursday, and you want to give up the keys to your sale on a Saturday or Sunday. And that might sound very confusing, but the hope, if you can do that, you can move without a double move, without bridge financing, without getting in a hotel room for a night. And that's what our goal is to try to make that move seamless. And I guess being mindful of that move at the negotiation stage on both sides can make that process much better. But oftentimes the dates end up leaving people a gap. And oftentimes, if someone is not mindful of that moving process is a lot more stressful and a lot more moving parts. Totally. So I think the suggestion here is go for it all. Be mindful of the dates that make that move as seamless as possible and try to get it. And if you can't, you can't.
In a lot of circumstances on the buy side, you're kind of handcuffed into giving the seller the dates that they want. Otherwise, you may just not get the house. So there's been multiple scenarios that we've dealt with that the date is so important to line up that a seller is willing to lose a little bit of money. It doesn't happen very often, but they're willing to forfeit $5,000, whatever it may be, to get the exact dates that fit with this scenario that Jamie just so confusingly
it was a bit confusing.
Explained. But when you are buying first, you're kind of handcuffed into when you're running into multiple offers, giving the seller the date that they want to get the house, and then you're listing immediately. Like there's scenarios where if sellers are ready to go, we're taking photos and getting video and floor plan and all our marketing material done before they even buy a home, so that as soon as they buy a home, we can list the next day. Just to get, if that completion on the purchase side is a little bit of a shorter window, let's say we don't have the luxury of 3 months, we have a month and a half or 2 months, we want that listing to go up immediately to try to, have the best chance of lining up those dates and having a smooth transition.
So number one thing when you're buying first, long dates.
Yeah.
Those are the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Give yourself time to sell.
There's one hesitation I want to at least make people aware of. If you're selling first in a market like this, it is very challenging to purchase a home right now, especially if the product type is entry-level single family, 3-bedroom townhouse in the suburbs. Those are extremely hot products. So the concern for me selling first is that you sell, you have a firm date, you lose out on a couple or very little inventory of what to purchase, and then you're out of the market for 3-6 months and you're losing that appreciation. In a year like 2021, I feel like it seems like every month is going to be better than the next. And we saw that in 2016 and 17. And so my hesitation of steering people towards selling first is that they sell at a February price and they don't buy till a July price. But in that time, they've lost 5, 10, 15% of equity in this, climbing market.
It's the biggest negative.
Totally.
Selling first. If you're in that spot, you basically have to have the mindset that you're putting aggressive, strong offers out there. You're paying what you think is going to get the place. You're not stuck on your own price on what you think it's worth. Because the market is telling us a different story these days.
Yeah.
And what you think it's worth, it might be fall's price. But February's and March price has gone up 10, 15, 20% in some cases.
Yeah.
Denny, you had some tips there on if you sell first and you have to buy, how do you best the chance of doing that? How do you best your chance of getting it? So you've put yourself out there, you sold first with the anticipation you're going to get the next home you love. How do you do to just increase the probability of making that happen?
So let's say in these circumstances, we're assuming that there's multiple offers. We are assuming that your realtor has prepped you super thoroughly. So you're writing a subject-free offer. You've given the seller the dates that they want. You've included any small terms that the seller's asked for, inclusions, exclusions. Just those extra little details. One, a buyer's agent being really communicative and I don't know if that's a word, communicating well.
I'm going to go with communicative. No, I don't think so.
Communicative is what I said. Different pronunciation, Jamie. Communicating really well with the listing agent gives you a better chance of getting a phone call back. So that is step one. A lot of agents don't go through the effort of writing a small email, just introducing who the clients are. Hey, this is a young couple. They're planning to have a kid. They have one kid. They have a dog. They love the backyard. They really love this neighborhood. They want their daughter to go to this school. This is what they do for a living. Just painting a little bit of a picture. It does not always work, but there's been so many circumstances where I've been in situations on the buy side where I get a phone call back because the seller says, I'd like to work with this young family. I have no idea who this other person is. Their offer's $10K higher. If you match it, we'll sell it to your family. So those extra little details, a little bit of effort from you on the buy side as a purchaser, but also from a buyer's agent, they go a long way. Having a deposit attached, we've talked about that multiple times. It definitely can be the deciding factor in terms of accepting your offer with a deposit attached or another offer without a deposit attached, subject free, even similar terms, similar price. Those are the two big things for me.
I think you nailed it.
Thank you.